outsource everything. Set yourself a minimum hourly rate of your personal time, and anything below that hourly rate you outsource or you delegate or get rid of. Just curious. They'll optimize to not have to deal with any. They're also very good at saying no to a lot of things. They'll hire experts to help them achieve. A lot of my successful friends spend so much money on coaching and mentoring and advisors and consultants. Welcome back to another episode of the Ben Bergs podcast. I'm Ben, your favorite high school dropout and founder of Collective Shift. Alongside Ms. Bergs, your favorite MBA and COO of Collective Shift. Join us as we bring you world-class crypto research and strategies to help you dominate this crypto bull market, as well as a behind-the-scenes view of us scaling a fully remote subscription research business. And if you like the Ben Bergs podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe if you're on YouTube, or if you're on Apple Podcasts, Android, Spotify, wherever you are. If you leave us a follow, that'll help us grow the podcast and bring this to you each and every week completely free, where we try and digest the world of crypto and personal growth to help you win. Now, today we're talking about what we've learned about spending time with successful multimillionaires. I recently moved in with one. He's a good mate of mine. He runs a massive marketing agency in Australia, doing multiple millions of revenue per year in the 8 figures a year, which is just absolutely awesome. And I obviously spent a lot of time with him, and we're a part of the entrepreneurs organization, Aaron and I, and we just get to spend a lot of time with some of the most successful founders. So the entrepreneurs organization, for example, there's a minimum revenue mark you need to be to even join that membership group. I think it's about 1.2 million. And then there's events and groups and sessions. I'm going to another one tomorrow. We get to just be around successful people and see what they're doing. And there's a lot of lessons, Bergs, that I've learned from moving away from Tassie, over here when I was just on my own. And I joined the group 3 years ago to be and surround myself with smart people and constantly on the most dumbest guy in the room. And what you learn from these people that have done what you're trying to do is like a cheat code to fast tracking your ability to become more successful and be like them, because you can model yourself off what they do. And, compared to the everyday person, some of the things they do, mate, are very different.
It's very counterintuitive, isn't it? And every month, you catch up with them. You got your group, you got your accountability group, and you can take any challenges you have there and you'll come away with you're like, nah, the world's ending. This is too hard. It's all over. And you come away with 5 or 6 strategies you never would have thought of.
Yeah, it's awesome. And sometimes it's a little bit too much, because you're like, it's not competitive. It's a little bit ego driven, where like someone's always got the new tactic or the new thing that they're doing or the new hire or the new product or the new business model, or like everyone's always got that new thing that someone's doing, and you walk away and you go, fuck, like I need, you walk away with 12 things you think you should be doing, and you can't possibly achieve 3 of them in the time that you want.
That's what I've noticed when I go to the larger EO trainings, where there's the founders are in there, and they're exactly like that, where they'll be like, I got this car, or I hired this, or I'm using AI in this way, or I'm doing sales and it's just, I've gone up like 50%. But in like the key executive program that I'm in, it's more like, we're just like, this is where we're at, like, and we all help each other. It's not like the brags of like what we're actually doing and how the business is going.
It feels like yours is like, your group is just a bunch of smart people trying to fix the problems that we create.
Yes.
And we're over here just trying to figure out who can get their credit card over the bar first to show off that they're paying for drinks. Like
that's it. Or who can drink the most, or who can like, get the most phone numbers at the bar or whatever, even though you're married. And like, and like with us, essentially, so the founders are the visionaries, and then the GMs and C-levels are the executors. We bring that, and integrators, we bring that vision to life. So it's more just complaining about our founders going, shit, they want this. How do we get it done? And they come away with some strategies to get it done.
But the commonalities, I think there's a few very similar themes across like seeing successful people do what they do. And, I guess we just wanted to share some of that and even just for ourselves, like this is stuff that we've learned along the way and stuff that I have modeled myself on, but also there's a few things that, don't also align, with what I want to be doing and how I want to be spending my time. But, so I guess, what we're trying to explain here is just like from the access that we've got, what are those common themes that these people are doing? And I think for starters, Bergs, the biggest one that I see is they just outsource everything. Like these guys are not doing the basic, normal, everyday stuff that mum and dads will be doing. Like they're outsourcing things, they're getting EAs to do things, they're getting cleaners, they're doing whatever they can to make sure they're doing low value tasks. So, it's saving a lot of time.
They're making sure that they're being used at their highest utility, and they're trying to duplicate themselves constantly. They're always looking for points of leverage, whether that's an EA where you can download your brain and they can do things for you, or this person can do this task 80% as well as I can. It needs to go to them, or constantly syncing with people to let them know what's going on in your head so they can execute, or doing like the EOS, like the management system where everyone in your company speaks the same language and they rate things the same way and everyone knows what's going on. It's that cohesion across everything. It's phenomenal.
I think what I see a lot of people doing, like a tactic that I've seen used pretty consistently, is you'll set yourself a minimum hourly rate of your personal time, and anything below that hourly rate you outsource or you delegate or get rid of. So let's say you set yourself a $500 hourly rate, or $1,000, whatever it might be. Anything below that, going grocery shopping, filling up your car, doing your washing, cooking, walking the dog, whatever those things might be that are lower than that, you'll either delegate and get someone else to do, so you can utilize that time to do higher value things, or you get rid of it altogether.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So the things, and Tim Ferriss has a beautiful little diagram on this in the 4-hour work week. We'll put in the show notes about how to do a task. And it's like, do you enjoy it? Yes, no. Is it like an obligation or revenue generating? Yes, no. And it's like eventually goes to, okay, you need to do this, or delegate it or eliminate it.
Yeah, and I think it also lines up with what you just said, Bergs. Like they just don't do stuff they don't want to do.
Yeah.
So if there's a task or a project, or I'm trying to think like some of the common things. Like I think a lot of it's around like cleaning, cooking, like basic admin duties. You just outsource the stuff that you don't want to do, and you can replace that. Because if you count up like all the time you spend grocery shopping, walking the dog, cleaning, maybe trying to figure out what your gym routine is, like all these things you can, like in individuality are quite small, but you add them all together, probably takes 2, 3, 4 hours, a week that you're utilizing that you could be doing other things.
Yeah, and just think about the mental burden you have of doing that, like trying to figure things out, your schedule, doing extra things. So if you do all of those things, like the majority of people can do that, and you're going to be competing with a lot of people, and you're going to be very average or very burnt out, one of the two. But if you think about what are those things that I can automate, how can I get more time in my day? Where are the points of leverage? How can I be above average? You will be able to achieve more than the people that aren't doing those things.
Yeah. And even thinking about that, like even from a money perspective, another thing that I see a lot of people do, and you do this quite well, like you taught me a lot of this, is like really going hard on your own personal finances and looking at like how you're utilizing your money, whether that be cash. Let's say you want to buy a car. You're using post-tax dollars to buy that car. So you're paying the government 30 or 40%, and then using the cash after that to buy a depreciating asset, versus what someone with a business would do would be lease that vehicle, look for government incentives, use pre-tax dollars, you write off half of that with business, expenses, thinking about the ways you can get more out of your money than just bowing in and thinking from more of a poorer mindset.
Exactly right. And what you touched on here is they're always looking for opportunity. Every time I get together with EOers, they always come in, they're like, oh, did you hear about this government grant? Or I've got this trainee, how can I get them on this program? Or I'm going to go get a Tesla because the FBT benefits are huge. They've always heard, or like, there's this new fund that I'm investing my money in and it gives me this return because they're using this point of leverage. They're always opportunity seeking. So their little antenna are always up, always listening, saying, hey, what's new? What's out there? Who can I talk to? What's the latest thing I can implement to get more leverage and catapult myself forward?
Yeah, I love that. Very opportunistic, very shiny object syndrome. But then on the flip side, I think they're also very good at saying no to a lot of things. I think ultimately, like something that I've learned as well, like, it's taken a lot to also say no to like all the opportunities that come our way. Like there's just more and more things that you could be doing, but it's not about what you do, it's about what you don't do.
Yeah, I agree. I think I want to do a separation here between personal and business. So personally in the EOs that I've seen and successful people outside of EO, so this could be business owners, doctors, or even people that aren't that rich but have very successful lives, like maybe researchers or something like that, or educators. Personally, they say no to a lot of things. So they protect their time because they know if that time, like if they're doing something and they're like, I value my time at here, or, you know, this isn't going to get me in the direction they want. They're very clear on what they want to achieve. And if what you want them to do takes their time and doesn't go towards them achieving it, they're not going to do it. They will have some time set away for like volunteering and helping people out and generally good stuff. The majority of time is no. I've found when it comes to business, because their antenna are up, they're always after opportunities. They'll bring in heaps of opportunities. They'll get super excited and they'll be like, oh my God, I went to this conference and they told me this and we need to implement this immediately, not having thought things through. And it's like, whoa. We're in the middle of doing like, you know, this big transition is going to take another 6 months and you want us to drop that and do this. Yeah, it'll only take a few days. Like this guy did it. His company is fucking amazing. And you are one of those guys. You're getting yeah. I saw this guy and he's got this sales team. It's amazing. We need a sales room. We need a war room. We're going to fill it with a bunch of misfits. It's going to be like Wolf of Wall Street. Like, oh, he was almost down and out and now he's like a multi-millionaire or billionaire, whatever it may be. And like, you need to bring it back and like, okay. Like, and what one of the EOs actually told me was his GM was like, okay, we can do that. But here's the thing. If we're going to do it, you first have to wait 2 weeks before we start it, and we have to commit to it for 90 days. Yeah. And he finds that after 2 weeks, the excitement and energy has worn off. He's like, no, we're not doing that. And if you commit to it for 90 days and you're going down a path of bullcrap, then you know that like, okay, we're not going to put all that effort in and people have to commit to it and they have to work on it. And that stops most of the kind of stuff. So I really see that separation between personal and business.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think, as you said, like these people are very driven to get the results that they want, like, and whether that's finding new opportunities to achieve that thing or by saying no to a lot of things to achieve that thing. Like they know what they want, and it's like nothing will stop in their way to go and do it. Like they're very driven. Like I don't mean any EOers that are like that are not built that way, if that makes sense.
I find that people that achieve success in their lives, whatever that is to them, whether it's sport, business, family, raising your children the way you want, whatever it is, having money, they do it because they're very clear on their vision. They know what they want unequivocally. And I think a lot of people don't put the time in to understand what they want. They like, oh, I want to be rich, I want to be on a beach. It's like, no, what drives you? What do you want to do in your day to day? And you have to be very clear. You got to wake up every morning. You got to stuff your head with that vision. That is the only thing that you go for. And everything you do must align to that. And you can move and you can change along the way, but the majority of people don't do it. What do? They wake up, you go on your phone, your head's already getting stuffed with things that other people want to put in there. You go to work, you're fulfilling someone else's vision. It's like, what are the things that you want to do? You can go to work and that's fine, but you need to define what you want in your life and stick to it, and every day work towards that goal.
Yeah, man. I totally agree. And another way they do that to get to the place they want to be, if they don't know the path to get there, is they'll hire experts or people that have done it before to help them achieve that thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the biggest things. Like a lot of my successful friends spend so much money on coaching and mentoring and advisors and consultants and all this sort of stuff to help them achieve what they want to do. You know, whether that's getting a PT, whether that's getting a marketing advisor, whether it's getting a CEO coach, whether that's getting a relationship coach. Like so many of these different areas of your life, you can either go and figure it out yourself and spend the time making the mistakes and learning the lessons and trying to figure out what the fuck you're supposed to be doing, or you can just go and spend money on someone that's done it before that can help you get there faster and save a bunch of time. And I see so many of my business friends that are successful that like will nearly not do anything new without paying for someone to help guide them.
Exactly right. And think about it. In life, you either spend your time or your money. Time's the most valuable non-renewable resource. And if you've got something that you've heard about that can help you achieve your vision, let's just say you're unfit, you don't have energy, you need more energy in the day, you go get a PT. You don't start going to the gym trying to figure it out. You pay for a PT, you go there, day one, you've already got an expert, and you're way ahead of where you would be if you did it yourself. Yes, you need to burn down on your cash, but it is the fastest path to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree, man. And with that as well, they put themselves first. I think this was a great point that we put here. Like they know that, because a lot of and the most successful people that I know, like have optimized their life to a point where they don't even do that much work anymore. Like they optimize to do only the most valuable things they could do, the things that they enjoy the most, and they put themselves first. Like they're spending more time with their friends, they're spending more time with their family, more time off than their actual businesses.
That's it. They've structured their business so it can run without them. They only need them for certain critical tasks. But that's it. They stop there. They only do the critical tasks and they trust other people to go and execute the other things. They're not running around like headless chooks doing a million things. It's like, no, the business is structured to run without them so they can live the life they want. And you brought this to me. You actually said it. They use business as a vehicle to live the lives they want.
That is the most important thing. If there's something that I've learned from these people, it is business is just a vehicle. They might not like the product, right? Like one of my mates runs a coffee bean business, right? He likes coffee, but he's not in love with coffee beans. But he has a sick business that he's been doing for 10 or 12 years that he owns 100% of, that he hires, and he's hired a GM, and he pays his GM a good salary with a revenue share, who does majority of the work and just makes a fat salary and a fat dividends every quarter and lives life like awesome. And he plays golf 2 or 3 times a week. Like
that's exactly it. And it doesn't have to be business as a vehicle for your life. It can be investing your money as a vehicle for your life, or a job as a vehicle for your life. So even if you have to work 40 hours a week, if it's flexible working and you can do stuff before and after work and pick your kids up, or, it's not super stressful and it pays you well, like they're all vehicles to be able to live the life that you want and structure it in the way that you want.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. And with the life they structure, I think some of the smaller things as well, like they'll just optimize to not have to deal with any bullshit. And what I mean by that is like, for example, right, they're going on a trip. They're not getting up, packing their bags and then ordering, an Uber X in the morning and getting some guy showing up who's probably going to, crash the car on the way there and he's fucking on his phone. And, there's a car or a chauffeur that's already pre-organized with a guy you already know who does your bags, who rolls your bags in. You're flying business class. You don't go through the main line of the airport security. You're going through the VIP line. You get on the plane, you sleep on the plane, you have a good feed. You're not up in economy, saving a bit of money. Like you pay for I'd say luxury, but also you pay for the that ability just to skip all the nonsense.
You're paying for convenience. They understand how much that is actually worth. And people are like, and this is a big mind shift for me. So I'm always like, business class is like, let's say $4,000 more. I'm like, well, I'd rather spend that on my holiday. And that's because given the money I've got and the way I think about money. But the reality is, why not just go for it, earn heaps more money so I can live the life that I want? Like that is what this whole thing is about. It's like, if you want to live a life that costs you $250,000 per year, go and make $250,000 per year. Or your alternative is to live the life you have now, earn $100,000 per year and live that life. And obviously you don't just go there overnight. It's something you have to structure over a decade or two to get to that level of where you want to live. And you have that choice. Do you keep growing and spending money and getting to that level so you can have all of those conveniences, or are you happy with what you've got now?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And we should probably preface in saying that, not everyone has to live or should or want to live the life that these people live. I think to your point though, Bergs, like I think for a lot of these people, it's like, it's not and even I've been thinking about this a little bit more recently. It's like, trying to reframe your thinking from, can I afford this, or how can I afford this, or what do I need to cut to do that, versus how can I just earn more or make more to do those things? Like rather than thinking from this like scarcity mindset, looking at it from an abundance mindset and thinking, what can I do to achieve that?
Because with scarcity is also like guilt and shame, like why am I spending all this money? Why am I doing this? But that's a very like closed, fixed sum mindset. Yeah. Whereas if you're like, how can I afford to do that? And again, this is not like, people have this concept of having a rich life as being able to afford whatever you want, not looking at your credit card, buying the best of everything. That's not reality. A rich life is you get to choose what you spend on. So it might be something like, for me, I will never compromise on food. I have the best food. I shop at the best place. I have the best of that, right? But then there's things that I don't care so much about. I don't care that much about clothes. Like I wear t-shirts and shorts, right? Yeah. Or people might, I don't have, I've got a car, but it's not like top of the range, super fancy $200,000 car, right? But I still like that. And I won't compromise on things like in my house or schooling or whatever it may be, but other areas I don't care. And you get to choose where you have those areas in your life. And I find business people do that quite well. A lot of them are they have comparisons, right? Where they'll live in a really fancy area and they're like, okay, well, I'll live one suburb over, right? Because these guys are extreme and they've got the big house, the big boat, the big whatever. And a lot of the EOs I know, they used to compete there, but now they're like, I'll live one suburb over, don't really need a boat, I'll go out on their boat. They've got the super fancy car, I'll live here. And they have that kind of level of comfort. It's still a very rich life. But then they go, oh, I'll go on a bigger holiday. I'll go fly first class, I'll do this, I'll do that. You really get to choose what's important to you.
Yeah, no, I think that's the most important, right? Because I think we've also met a lot of people that fake that they have what they want, right? Or they're leveraged up to the tits. They're actually in excruciating debt.
You can see it on their face. You can always smell it when you stand next to them. Just like them you've met them and with 1 second they're telling you what they've got and showing you their bank account, their watches, and all that. I'm like, bro, are you okay? Seriously. And their suits, and that's how they signal that they're worth something. And it's no, we could just talk, about how you're doing and your family. We don't need all that kind of stuff. It is crazy.
And that is the downside, I think. Not the downside, but you do get that other side of, not necessarily EO, but even just spending time with those people, especially new people. I feel as though some people just have a point to prove, and it can just become a little bit of an ego, who's got a bigger dick contest. Oh, which I don't really. It's just not that. I don't care. It's don't tell me about how good your life is. Tell me about what's your biggest problem. What's it like? Tell me the real story. What's really going on.
So I had this thing. I've had this for decades. Whenever I meet people, I want to know who they are, and it's especially when there's a new friend that comes into the group, and I'm I kind of poke and prod, and I want to know something what are you passionate about, or what are you really into, or what do you really hate? And when you find that thing, you're oh yes, you're great, this is who you are. They're I fucking hate it when people do this thing, or just I'm mad for marathons or something like that, and they just get really into it. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's good.
And look, we've got a couple more things here, and we've talked about this, just briefly touched on it, but I want to go deeper. These people, all of them, have a good team around them. They trust experts and they don't micromanage them. This is so important. I've found they just fulfill them with the vision where they want to go, and they're not do this task, do this, do that, because they value their time and they don't want to piss that person off. If that person isn't doing the right thing, they'll bring in and be hey, look, let me tell you again, this is my vision, this is where I want to go, and give them more guidance and direction, but they don't micromanage these people.
It's fascinating. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and one of the quotes was that he mentioned B grade players don't complain about how much work they have on, because A grade players love how much they have going on, and they want to work around other A grade players. And I'm that makes so much sense. And if you can have a team of A grade players around you, 100%, all the business owners that have great quality companies that aren't doing too much have a great team to run it. That's the end of the day. You've got to have great people that can run the show, but you've got to be able to instill that vision and that belief in those people to go and do it and not micromanage. Because I think once you go into that realm and you're starting to track people's time and you're installing software on their computer to see what they're doing, there's no trust there.
It's nonsense. Yeah, absolutely not. And you get them to justify their time. Who wants to work for a person like that? That's just crazy.
Yeah.
And man, they put themselves first. This is a key one. So they put their physical health first, their mental health, then their families, then their sport or whatever they want to do, and then it's their business. That's the hierarchy that they have.
That was one of the guys that I had up in my business course up in on the Gold Coast, a guy that He was 70, 80 years old, third generation property company, family business, $800 million plus revenue per year. He came in and said for his whole life running his company, the 3 orders of his life were family and friends, sport, then business. Business always came last.
Yeah.
And he's doing $800 million a year in revenue.
That's amazing, mate. That's definitely the way to be. And I just love that it's like you put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? You need to look after yourself first. After you're looked after, you can look after everyone else. We've made this mistake where we put the business first. We end up burning out, getting sick. You see it all the time. And I think you need to go through that cycle quite a few times to actually learn it and understand it. Because you kind of think like, oh, these guys are making so much money, it's a privilege. But you need to structure your business that way from the start, or your life that way, or your job that way. So it actually serves you.
Yeah, great.
And one thing I've just thought of as well when I think about these people is they're always meeting new people. Like they're always happy to have a chat, meet someone new. You know, they might get a new perspective, or they might find out some new information. They like talking to people in different kind of fields. They'll always kind of catch up for a coffee, that kind of thing. It's like there's a regular cycle of meeting new people. And it goes along with that stimulus and exposure because they want to be on the pulse. They don't want to be left behind. They need to know what's going on. And they're always asking questions, Ben. Have you noticed that?
Curious.
Yeah. Like we've got a guy in EO and he was kind of stressed out about his business and he went to lunch with a billionaire and this guy's just chilling and he's got 60 businesses. And he's like, bro, how do you structure that? How do you have 60 businesses and you're relaxed? He's like, tell me everything. And then he started learning, he's like, this is how I do it. These are the meetings that I have. This is why I don't have to worry because that person owns that business. I only have a 1-hour weekly meeting with them. It's just incredible. They're not afraid to ask the pointed question and find out the answer. Like, how does that work? The guy that you live with as well runs a very successful business. He's exactly the same. He'll go up, he'll talk to the old guys and be like, tell me how this works. Like, what do you do? Tell me everything. Just absorbs it like a sponge.
Yeah, I think you have to be. I think that learning mindset, always looking for progress and growth and learning new things and new skills and new ideas, that's a part of it. I think if you start to have a closed mindset and start to think that you know everything, well, that's when things start to turn around.
Yeah, and most people won't ask the question because they don't want to be vulnerable. They want to seem knowledgeable. But I find that that's in a lot of jobs where it's a status game. But in business where it's a wealth game, these people have had the problems you've had. And there's no bullshit. You just got to cut through it and be like, how do you do this? Yeah. And they'll help you out because they've been in your position.
I love it, mate. I think that's a really good roundup of things that we find anyway are the most common amongst successful people. And maybe you've got some successful friends as well. Maybe you are successful yourself. I wonder if there's anything else that we've missed from here. We'd love to hear from you. You can either tweet at us at Ben Bergs on Twitter. Or if you're on Spotify, you can actually leave a question at the bottom. Feel free to let us know what you think. If we've missed anything. And we hope you find this valuable. As I said at the start, if you like listening in, we'd love for you to give us a follow on your podcasting app or give us a subscribe on YouTube. It helps us grow the podcast by getting us in front of new people. And we'll continue to bring this to you every single week completely free. And we thank you so much for listening in. It's awesome to continue doing it. And we're slowly growing, Bergs. We're getting there. More and more people are joining the journey.
I love it, mate. We're just going to keep growing and keep building. And thank you, champions, for listening.
Thanks, guys.